Hot topic here on Morning Kicker. I'm Robert. He's Jason. And we took in a 2-0 win. The United States men's national team returned to winning ways in the final exhibition of this September international window. Japan played with sans some big stars. Matoma, Endo, Minamino started on the bench, didn't come on till later in the game. Yeah. But in my opinion, a much more positive and organized display than we saw at the weekend.
Of course. Yeah, there's no doubt that was way better than what we saw on Saturday, and maybe the best we've seen from a Mauricio Pochettino led U.S. men's national team. Like, there's no doubt about that. I do think it's important to consider the context. I do think it's important to recognize that Japan rotated heavily and didn't have all of those big names on the field that you just mentioned. I don't know that the U.S. played a perfect game. Of course, they didn't. And I could pick some things apart a little bit. But it also is encouraging that Pochettino, who had already called the roster. That was, unless I'm mistaken, he picked those players to call into the U.S. men's national team. Like, the fact that he looked at that and said, oh, you know what? I got some guys that might make good wing backs. Maybe we should play with a back three. Like, oh, let's do that. Let's try that. Let's see what happens here, guys. Like, what do you think? It's a crazy idea. Let's do it. And it worked. Right. And again, that also you could argue that maybe you're just matching Japan on, and that's part of it too. But if you play a team that's playing a back four and you've got a back three, are you going to have issues, et cetera, et cetera? Big man marking around the field a little bit easier when you're just mirroring their formation. But it definitely felt better. It seemed to work in ways that Saturday didn't work until they went to a back three. And you may not think Tristan Blackman is the level for the World Cup. You may not think that Christian Roldan will be on that team. You may not be convinced yet that Alex Freeman is ready, but none of them have clicked out of place. And we got a striker to score a goal.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. There you go.
It had been a while since we saw a much Balogun, and I'll admit I had been a little bit cynical about how much of a level up he could still be compared to the other pool of strikers, but I was pleasantly surprised at what he was able to bring, and it was great to see him score a goal. You know what stood out to me most, especially in the first half? Matt Freese, solid. Actually, he dealt with some awkward shots, some crosses, and had kind of that trustworthy authority when watching him. It didn't look like, didn't give that Onana feeling when you're just like anything could happen when the ball goes in the box. I was confident with his performance last night.
There was. I mean, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that I'm like, oh, he's definitely the number one now. But he made some good. He made some good saves. He did some nice things. There are still. I'll say this too. I think this is also worth pointing out. The press worked better, and the repress was good from the United States, and that had not been the case. And maybe that's the organization. Maybe that's where the bodies were. And again, maybe that's matching up against Japan in something that mirrored their formation. But I definitely think there was something else at work here. And, maybe this is a lesson to all of us that we should just shut up and let Pochettino cook. And we're all wrong if we're down on this team right now. And he's right. And he was even in the press conference after the game talking about that thing of the criticism and his reaction to it. And basically he's like, it's not that I can't handle criticism. Obviously he's a guy that has coached in some pretty tough environments. I mean, the London media in and of itself is a thing. But he said that he thought some people had been unprofessional during the week and sort of the reaction to this. And there are some people, I have not clicked on it. I have not engaged with it. But I keep seeing a headline that says Alexi Lalas is calling for Mauricio Pochettino to be fired. And like Pochettino did say, you can criticize me, but let the players do their thing. I don't know that I buy that either. I mean, players are going to be up for criticism just like anybody else. But I do appreciate a manager who's basically saying, I'm the one responsible here. Make me the focus of this and try to take that pressure off his players, particularly in a moment when he has said, and some people just aren't buying it, that this is not necessarily his final team, right? This is not the team he's taking the World Cup. Now, okay, by the way, I saw the headline, okay? didn't engage with the content, but Andy is saying Lawless did not call for Poch to be fired. He question was asked him was hypothetical. All right, well then that's just a way to this business long enough, Andy, to know that that's just a way to bring the question up without saying that you called for him to be fired. So I'm not going to swallow that as like, oh, that's an excuse for Alexi. If it was asked, hey, Lexi, could they fire Poch right now? Is it bad enough? And he said, well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible that you could justify firing him. Then that's just a way to say I might fire him or at least engage with that. It's clickbait, right? That's what we're dealing with. A lot of this is clickbait.
Nate bringing up kind of the next chapter of this topic of players we liked. Love for Zendejas.
Yes, absolutely.
I enjoyed his goal, and that was really good. And I've felt for quite some time that Zendejas has been underutilized in this team in the last, I guess this last like year or so.
I will say that this is his best performance. I mean, the best one I can remember. Okay, so. And Pochettino after the game said that with this type of performance, he's in the race for the World Cup. And that's what these players need to be doing, is making their case to be in that World Cup roster. And I was impressed by Zendejas. And I do like him. I like the concept of Alex Zendejas in the U.S. men's national team. It has not always worked. But in this case, I do think that he made a very strong case that he should be in the team going to the World Cup. Whether that means, I'm not saying he's a starter, but there may be opportunities for him to do those things.
Yeah, he's got a skill set that no one else in the group really does. And I think he could be an asset, and definitely I think it would be a mistake to leave him out if he's fit and healthy. And Riverside Grove, got to say, good commenter, adds a lot of stuff. And I agree here. Dustin Jedi's wingback should be the way forward. And I feel like if the United States are going to do anything of great impact next year World Cup, these guys need to be fit and firing, because I recall over the last few years, this team can be dangerous and creative with them on the field, but without them, there's not a lot of either of those.
Well, again, so we come back to system and whether or not the back three with the wing backs is maybe just the right fit for Alex Zendejas, and that gives him the space, inside, cutting in the way that he likes to, leaving space, as Riverside Grove said, for Serginho Dest to do his thing. Obviously, Freeman over Dest to start this game, but Dest did play. I thought Dest was one of the better players against South Korea, so he deserves some credit there. There is also an argument, like, again, if you look at this and go, I don't know about Tristan Blackman. Now, are you going to swap in a Mark McKenzie who's not in this team? Or are you going to, I mean, is there somebody else that you think is the right center back to step in? And by the way, that kind of presumes that Tim Ream is just going to be a starter at the World Cup, which at this point, I mean, I'm not saying his legs are going to fall off, but he is at a point where his age could be an issue when you're in a tournament with games coming fast and furious. But I think there's also an argument, and I've seen this out there, and I can't remember, maybe it was Eric Winalda, who I work with on the radio, maybe it was somebody else. How about Jedi Robinson as one of those center backs, which allows you to get maybe Tim Weah on the field as a wingback opposite of Serginho Dest? Or you could obviously, like, if you want Jedi to be an attacking player, he has to play wingback and not center back. I understand that. But if you're talking about a guy you trust as a defender who understands how to read the game and certainly has a relationship with Ream if he's on the field, then that might be a way to get Jedi on the field, in addition to having somebody else who maybe isn't quite the defender that Jedi is play in that wingback position, whether that's Weah or Arston.
I like that. That's a good shout. Give him the Kyle Walker treatment. Bring him from that fullback position and bring him in. And you take maybe comparable skill sets as far as having absolute rocket jets for legs, be able to come back and cover space if beaten in behind, and then the ability, obviously he can tackle and defend. So that's a good shout there to maybe do the whole Kyle Walker 3 in the back thing.
I want to mention Christian Roldan, right? Obviously a divisive figure among certain segments of the U.S. men's national team fan base. Not only called in late, not even on the provisional roster for this window, not called in late, off of vacation after winning the Leagues Cup with Seattle, gets an opportunity to start here, goes 90 minutes. He was good in the work that he did. He was good in the defensive things that he provided. He was good covering space and blocking up passing lanes. He left me a little cold with some of the passing, particularly towards the latter half of the match. It felt like fatigue had set in, and he was leaving a lot of things short. And in fact, I think that Japan got one decent chance. Maybe it was the shot that that hit the corner, they rattled the crossbar from about 25 yards. That may have come off a turnover that was from a Christian Roldan pass that he left short. So I think what I'm saying is, well, he generally has good reviews, and people are pointing out, and certainly Seattle fans are crowing today about Christian Roldan's contributions to a win for the U.S. men's national team against top 30 opposition, which we haven't had many of. But I will say that it's a mixed bag, and there are no perfect players in this situation. And I think that is something that Pochettino is going to have to figure out. Where is the give and take with some of these players and what they do well and what they don't?
So last night, Zendejas and Balogun with the goals, Max Arfston and Christian Pulisic with the assists on the night. But I got to say, going back to Sergiño Dest, he's a really fun player to watch. And I really hope that he's healthy and fit and available next year, because some of his passes, he set up some really dangerous situations. How much of a rocket was that? I think he set up the American that got traded to Houston, all left footer, Jack McGlynn. That shot that Dest set up for Jack McGlynn. Wow, was that ever sweet? And he did that, I think, for Zendejas maybe earlier, but
I think that was also off a dummy by Damian Downs. Is that the sequence that you're talking about?
Yeah,
nice, not good decision from Downs to leave that for McGlynn, and if it's just inches away. Now again, Japan was inches away themselves, so it could have been 3-1. It could have been, there's a many different, but I do think overall the balance of the game, you have to be very encouraged by the performance. It was certainly an upgrade over Saturday, and I will say that's not the Japan you would face in tournament football. You would face a different team with Minamino on the field and Indo on the field and all that, but have to take it for what it is. Like, don't look too closely at a friendly. It's just not worth it. But take it as a little bit of progress, and certainly the vibes are different. And we saw this on social media. I think Henry Bushnell found this, took this video. Let me put this on the stage. Oh, hold on, I gotta get that off the stage first. Let me put this back. Tim Weah and I can't remember who else that is, just walking through the mix zone while the reporters are all standing there. Everybody covering the game is standing there, playing a cover version of Fast Car that I didn't. Am I just behind the times? Did I know that existed? Did you know that existed? Did you know?
I'm not. I'll hands up. I don't know the current pop country songs right now, okay. So that could be the biggest hit in America right now.
Jack McGlynn may have hit the woodwork twice, but I certainly remember one of those being one of those sweet left. The one he absolutely hammered, and then I think there was another one that was maybe pushed off by the goalkeeper, but I don't think that was a well-taken I think Jack kind of misplaced that shot, and it was going to be saved if it didn't get deflected towards the post. I think that's what I remember. Maybe Chris has a better memory than me. My apologies if I'm getting that wrong, but yeah, there you go.
But yeah, Dest cutting in, it looked like he was going to shoot the whole way, lays it off. For a great shot at the top of the box, and hope to see a lot more of that in the future games. The remaining schedule for the United States men's national team here this year, they play Ecuador in Austin in October, Australia in Denver, and in November, Paraguay and Uruguay. So some stiffer competition on the way, and hopefully more progress and more galvanized United States men's national team in the future. Moving along in the show, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this now, haven't hit subscribe, do so now. Subscribe and step it up a notch. Become a member. MK Ultra is what happens when you become a member of the channel. And if you don't want to do all that monthly commitment, you can just hit thanks, super thanks, available all the time. You just hit the thanks button underneath the video window here, or you could just tell your family and friends about Morning Kick Around, the center of the American soccer conversation.